And we're back, ladies and gents, with game 2 here between Prismatic Esports and Imagine Wagons. I'm Random Minion Caster, and on the blue side for this game, we've got Imagine Wagons. On the red side, Prismatic winning game 1 here in fairly one-sided fashion. They dominated the early game here, abusing Imagine Wagons' late game skill and composition, which never quite got to the point where it could come online. And now in game 2, Imagine Wagons going to be firing back, trying to stop Prismatic from getting their first win of the split here. No changes to the rosters, both teams retaining all 5 players for their game 2. And on the blue side, Imagine Wagons banning out the Olaf, Graves, Darius, Galio, and Pantheon. So that missing ban is a Galio ban here. For Prismatic, they're going to continue keeping their bans from game 1. It's the identical ones: Warwick, Morgana, Echo, Annie, and Shen here. Don't fix what ain't broke. They won game 1. They see no reason why they need to change their bans up. Imagine Wagons going to pick themselves a much stronger early game composition here with the Lucian, Leona bot lane, Xin Zhao in the jungle, Jin and Orianna. So pardon me, that's not going to be a Lucian in the bot lane. That's Jin, Leona in the bot lane. Most likely a Lucian top here. So a very high damage composition coming out from the side of Imagine Wagons. And I do like the fact they first picked that Lucian, baited me into thinking it was an ADC. I'm sure it did the same for Prismatic as well. So holding that Jin to the second rotation, really solid choice there. And for the side of Prismatic Esports, they get themselves the Lovers bot lane that they were aiming for in game 1 here. The Xayah Rakan bot lane for Soul Musing and Dark Prince. They pick up the Lee Sin set, and that last pick is not a Kindred, it's actually a Nasus. So a mistake here from Prismatic Esports. So again, it's Xayah, Rakan, Lee Sin, set, and Nasus. So it looks like it's going to be a set mid again, and we've seen Mickey Mouse for the win play this set in the mid lane before. Is an interesting pickup, situational counter pick here, and I'm not sure it'll do well into the Orianna though. The Orianna counter picking that set there will most likely give a lot of grief to the set mid. And if you look at Prismatic's composition, I am a little concerned that they've gone a little too deep into the damage, attack damage side of things. They've got a lot of physical damage, but not a lot of AP here. So definitely something that they'll have to be careful of going into the late game. They just need to build some armor on the side of Imagine Wagons, and that's going to negate the bulk of their damage. They still have a really strong laning phase that they can punish with. The top side for just storming this time on the Nasus might be a little weaker, especially into the Lucian. Has to be careful, but does have that Wither, can slow Lucian down quite a bit, but Lucian extremely mobile champion, so will be an interesting matchup. Usually ranged champions do punish melee champions, especially in that top lane though, so we'll have to see how that one goes. I do, pardon the pun, imagine that Imagines should have the lead in the beginning of the game a little bit here. Should be able to bully out Just Storming, but as the game goes on, Just Storming might be able to just one shot. We'll have to see if it does get to that late game or not, especially since in the Coalition League a lot of games don't tend to make it that far. And besides that, the composition from Imagine Wagons has a huge mid game spike with that command shockwave being able to get dragged in, brought in, delivered by Granddaddy Jax on the Xin Zhao here. Whereas on the side of Prismatic Esports, they have strength in lanes. They have the Lee Sin for the early jungle control as well. But outside of that, I don't think they scale amazingly well aside from the Nasus. So they sort of have to win the lanes quite a bit and look for that skirmishes, look for picks to sort of win their game out here. Now we are loaded onto the Rift here on the side of Imagine Wagons. They actually have themselves a fairly decent level 1 here, but running into a Lee Sin set is kind of risky as well. So both teams looking like they are just going to opt to play it defensive here. They don't want to throw anything weird away, especially with Imagine Wagons having their backs up against a wall. They don't want to risk everything on level 1s. However, see Mickey Mouse going in aggressively here. He might have been spotted out, I think. I'm not sure. But it looks like they're not going to collapse on him quite yet. We do see Matsy in the mid lane pushed up really far as well. It was so amusing and Dark Prince coming up here to back them up. But he does walk. They do walk over a ward here. So looks like it's just a lot of posturing with no real action about to happen.
Minions have spawned.
And in these matchups, I do want to pay particular attention to the top lane a little bit here in these matchups, because I think that's where a lot of things will sort of rotate around. It is the center of the eye of the hurricane that might come out here, with Just Storming looking to scale up. But if Imagines can take advantage of the short range and punish, he can really take over the game from that top side of the map and just dominate here. Mid lane most likely will be not very interactive a lane. They just want to farm up on the side of Wild Goose Chase, and with the range advantage should be able to farm up quite comfortably, quite safely here against Mickey Mouse. And in that bot lane, we might see a bit of action. I am going to watch them till about level 2, because level 2 is when we generally see Leonis get really aggressive. But actually, it's going to be Dark Prince going in level 1 immediately. Ignite coming down onto XX. Well, they're looking to try and get some kills here. Heals come down. It's going to be First Blood coming up for Spenlow. And it's so amusing is diving the turret. Will take a turret shot. XX Wolf extremely low. Has to be careful he doesn't get taken down. But the pots are ticking. He is healing up. And that level 1 going to backfire horrifically onto Prismatic. What a mistake here from Dark Prince in game 1. We saw that his engages were on point, always seeming to know exactly how much damage he can dish as well as take. But here in game 2, that level 1, definitely not what he expected here. He goes in aggressively, has the ignite coming down, but XX Wolf just barely surviving there, and that just ended so poorly for them. Even if they got the kill on So Amusing, it would have been at the expense of giving First Blood over. And even though you'd like to see the First Blood go over to the ADC, I think they would have just taken anything at that point, because XX Wolf almost died, and Spenlow getting the kill might just have saved his life there. So great start here from Imagine Wagons. This is exactly what you want to see from them to try and come back after that rough game 1 here for themselves. Now we do see Matsi sneaking around again on an early game jungler, looking to see what he can get. The flash coming in from Mickey Mouse to land the pull there, but a good dodge out. Flash from Wild Goose Chase dodging out that resonating kick from Matsi means that he will be able to remain safe. Both flashes blown from the mid lane right now. We might see a revisit there. For now, Granddaddy Jack still happy to just farm up here. Doesn't want to fall as far behind as he did in game 1. And in game 1, he fell really far behind, not just in map pressure, but in the CS as well. Top lane, Imagines punishing Just Storming with that range advantage right now. And Just Storming has to be careful. He wants to get these minions, he wants to get CS, but he has to make sure that he's not taking too much damage for it here. And with that early kill in the bot lane, we do see XX Wolf Spenlow backing. XX Wolf picking up a really early Kershi shard here. Interesting choice. Will give him a bit more attack speed and reload speed as well. And Spenlow able to pick himself up boots as well as that cloth armor. And that's going to be huge actually for him. Cloth armor early. That armor will work in lane as well as against jungle ganks here. It's going to let him engage that much easier without fear of Dark Prince and So Amusing. They don't have the level lead, because even though they did get the kills and all that, he did base immediately, so that was a bunch of CS which did go the side of So Amusing and Dark Prince, and they managed to catch back up. But still, there is undeniable kill pressure constantly here. And now Matsi in that top side will get spotted by a ward, will not be able to find anything here. And for Lee Sin, that's very unfortunate, because Lee Sin does like to gank often and early here. Very strong in that early game, does fall off, but Matsi just not able to find anything right now. In the top side, Just Storming continuing to get punished here. The CS discrepancy not that huge. Imagine's missing a couple of last hits, but is still fairly even, and is able to stop Just Storming from getting last hits as well. So sort of a double-edged blade here, punishing both sides. Spenlow just going to stand there and take the poke from Dark Prince. It looks like he disconnected was the issue here. But he will not get punished for it, because they weren't sure it was a bait. And that Leona, very strong champion as well. They weren't confident of being able to punish that one. We do see Granddaddy Jax though now looking into that bot side. Spenlow playing aggressively. Turning on that shield though is a huge sign that he wants a gank, and Granddaddy Jax going to get spotted up by that ward. Will clear out the control ward for now. So no gank, but at least a bit of gold clearing out that ward. And that denies a lot of the vision. There is vision here on the side of Imagine Wagons. They did get the scuttle on the top side. There is a ward in the pit as well. And if you look though on the side of Prismatic, they have effectively zero vision right now on the map. The Scryer's Bloom going to ensure that they know the Dragon not being done. We'll spot the ward out in the back of that pit as well here. This means all the lanes are somewhat vulnerable. We do see Just Storming looking to go back to base here. And that's going to let Imagines push this one in. There is teleport available. And one thing to note is Just Storming with the Unsealed Spellbook. Now Command Shockwave coming out. Misses as Matsi able to dash to a ward. That's a major cooldown. No longer available. Just Storming back in lane. Using that teleport aggressively with the movement speed. Going to force the flash out of Imagines there. And Just Storming's flash is still going to be available. He came running out with the exhaust. Really well played from him. And that just forces Imagines right back. Imagines does have the teleport. Will be able to get back into lane as well. But at least relieves a bit of pressure. And that's one of the dangerous things about trying to trade teleport. Ball lane though, Zenith Blade comes out and it's going to be on So Amusing. It's So Amusing with the Ignite taking down. They just need one more shot. They find it. That's going to be a kill going to XX Wolf here. And Dark Prince is alive, is healthy. He's got Matsi and Mickey Mouse coming down. But that has drawn the attention of Wild Goose Chase as well. They're going to find Wild Goose Chase in rotation here. But won't be able to get the kill. Instead, it's going to be Dark Prince potentially getting taken down. He runs into the waiting arms of Granddaddy Jack. Showstopper comes out. The shield as well is massive. The face breaker will be enough though. No, it will not. Resonating Strike does finally take down XX Wolf, but a little too late there. It's going to be a 3-for-1. Only XX Wolf going down here. And that should be a free Drake as well. Going the way of Imagine Wagon. Again, the strength of lanes can't be underestimated. Last game we saw it was Prismatic who had the upper hand in the lanes. This time, it's Imagine Wagons, and it's showing here. It's almost a complete reversal from game 1. It's 5-1 at about 8 minutes. This is what we saw in game 1. It was Prismatic in the lead at that point in time. Now the question though is, can Imagine Wagons close out the game the same way Prismatic did? Making sure that the enemy team doesn't have time to scale back into the game, because Just Storming in that top lane with the Nasus is one of the most scary top scaling champions in the game. So definitely is not something they want to let scale up, as is Xayah as ADC. Xayah will scale up nicer into the late game than XX Wolf will. The benefit for XX Wolf is that there isn't really a true tank on the side of Prismatic, and Jin struggles against true tanks, but against bruisers he can still pump out quite a bit of damage here. Not to mention, Prismatic drafted themselves into a bit of a corner with their all AD composition. There just needs to be armor built onto Granddaddy Jax, onto Spenlow. Now Solar Flare comes out, will not find the stun onto Dark Prince, and he's going to be able to just hop out to safety. The slow not going to affect him too much. That's a major ultimate down now for Spenlow in that bot lane. Is on a fairly short cooldown though, will be up soon enough, but they do have to be careful for the engage coming out of that Livers bot lane in the meantime. And right now the gold difference not that big despite the kill lead. A lot of the gold is sitting in that kill lead, because if you look across the lanes, they're all fairly even in terms of CS, except for that mid lane where we do see about 15 CS lead for Mickey Mouse here. Resounding Strike is gonna land. They pull the insect, they get him off, but that's not what they wanted to do, because Granddaddy Jax and Wild Goose Chase were in the area. They turned that one real quick, and that's a double kill now for Granddaddy Jax. He's getting to vent his frustrations from game 1, turning the tides onto Matsi. He's 4-0-1, and last game we saw Matsi bullying him around. This game it's him bullying Matsi, constantly there to strike back, counter gank when Matsi looks to make a play somewhere on the map here. Well played from them, and they're going to be able to pick up the Herald as well. Last game, Herald not going down to well into the game. It was about 15 or 16 minutes before it goes down, but Granddaddy Jax with the advantage now has his focus on these objectives. Going to take Herald down at about 10 minutes and change here, and that's going to be real nice for them. They can look to try and get one of the turrets here. Right now, only the top turret really taking damage. The other two lanes, despite the bot lane winning for Imagine Wagons, they've not gotten a lot of damage down on that turret. And mid lane, Wild Goose Chase has fallen behind a little bit with those roams. Does have a ton of assists though, so if we take a look at the gold, despite the CS discrepancy in the mid lane, they are fairly even here. In the top lane, about 500 gold discrepancy in advantage of Imagine. It's not as wide as I had expected in the drop phase when I saw the Lucian pick into the Nasus there. In the jungle though is the big discrepancy, the 1000k, the 1000 gold discrepancy, 1k discrepancy here from those kills that Granddaddy Jax is able to constantly find here for himself. And that's just going to be rough for Matty. The levels, though, at least are equal. And that's the big discrepancy we saw last game, which made such a big problem where Granddaddy Jax simply could not contest anything, could not even show up anywhere where Matty was. So just a lot more even across the board, and that's going to affect how this game plays out as well. We do see Command Shockwave coming down onto Mickey Mouse. A flash from him will keep him safe. The Ignite is ticking down. He will be low and will have to base off of that, but they can't chase any further because Matzy showed his face there, and they just didn't want to risk chasing after when there's a Lee Sin with a Dragon Kick waiting to mess you up on a turret dive. Now bot lane, Spenlo walking in, gets the stun point blank into Dark Prince there. Does not even have the Zenith Blade, and they're going to drop Shelly into that mid lane there. Mickey Mouse already back up to almost half health, surprisingly. His regeneration is massive here. Shelly going to go and grab them about 3 plates, but it won't most likely not be first turret here. Mickey Mouse has to be careful. The Facebreaker shield keeping him safe for only a couple of seconds as Granddaddy Jax able to shut him down bot lane. The engage coming out from Dark Prince, but he might have overstepped because the Solar Flare comes down. And there, mid lane, the Dragon Kick, that's what he had to be careful about. Messing up the turret dive, will be able to return the kill. It's a 1-for-1 in the mid lane. Bot lane, it is a 2-for-0 though, as the Lovers bot lane initiates and gets slaughtered there, as Zenlo able to pump out the damage. Imagine's in that top side as well, finding the solo kill onto Just Storming, and it looked like across the board, it was Prismatic really looking for engages here. And they're the ones to lose the engage in the top and bot lane. Suddenly the gold gap, the kill gap balloons right now to 4,500 gold, 11-2. That's a bigger gap than we saw in game 1 here. Prismatic just struggling right now, and you've just got to question what Just Storming was thinking in the top lane there when he looked for that engage onto Imagines. He was already getting poked really far down. He did manage to get Imagines very, very close to dead, but I mean, with the flashes available too, it's just a very, very risky endeavor that he unfortunately lost out here. And you gotta feel bad for Mickey Mouse in this game right now. He was the only lane that was actually winning and doing well, but now that his other lanes are losing, Granddaddy Jack's able to rotate quite freely, and Dark Prince hopping over that wall. Gonna take the Blast Cone back over. Wise use of that will deny the Blast Cone for the side of Imagine Wagons, but Imagine Wagons don't care. They're just gonna go into force because they know they win any fight they pick right now. And they're going to be able to pick up their second Drake of the game. And this is going to be the Cloud Drake for them. That 10% cooldown reduction is going to be nice because we do see the culling being used by Imagines in that top lane quite a bit as poke and deterrence onto Just Storming. Not to mention the Command Shockwave from Wild Goose Chase as well has been quite effective so far in this game. It's been used on single targets, but they often get kills or disengage quite safely with that. And the Solar Flare from the Solar Flare, pardon me, from Spenlo is also going to be huge on the Leona as well, constantly going to be looking for engages. And they managed to find themselves their first start of the game in the mid lane. The work that Shelly put in earlier paying off right now. Bot lane, Dark Prince going in, engaging there, but it's just going to be a bit of poke. They don't want to stick around. They already know that they lose these long engages, but the root comes out, the Zenith Blade as well as the stun. And it's going to actually be Spenlo going down in that trade there. The burst coming out from So Amusing and Dark Prince were solid. No Ignite necessary, but they have to be careful. We do see Granddaddy Jax and Wild Goose Chase waiting around, looking to try and dive them there, but they were sat on top of a ward, so Dark Prince and So Amusing won't be able to back out. They are going to give up this bot lane turret though, but that's the safer play right now. Teleport coming out from Just Storming, and we do see Mickey Mouse walking out in the wings here. Can they find him? No, a beautiful Command Shockwave to just disengage will catch too, and there's quite a chunk of damage. Just Storming losing half his health just on that one Shockwave dissonance combo there. And that will give Imagine's time to look for the outer turret for himself. So no matter what, Imagine Wagon's going to be able to pick up at least one turret here. If not the bot lane, then they get the top lane. That's going to be great for Imagines. Put him further in the lead as he's trying to complete that Blade of the Ruined King. And once he gets that, Just Storming going to have one hell of a time trying to gap close there with the active from the Blade of the Ruined King to slow him down as well. He's a melee champion. Granddaddy Jack's walking to the mid lane. They're looking for Mickey Mouse. There is no Command Shockwave available, and Just Storming is here. They're going to go in, hop over the wall. The Showstopper coming out will not save Mickey Mouse at all. The Facebreaker was not able to be popped before he died, and now Just Storming soon to follow as well. Double kill here for Wild Goose Chase. And he's making up for a very oppressed game 1. It just seems like Imagine Wagons is just taking revenge across the board right now for all the suffering they had in game 1, and Prismatic just don't have anything to answer. And Prismatic really getting a taste of their own medicine right now. In game 2, they were the ones to drop the early game composition to punish the scaling of the side of Imagine Wagons in game 1, and we're seeing what feels like the opposite happening here in game 2, where they've drafted as themselves a composition with the Nasus that wants to go into the late game with the Xayah, and they're the ones being punished right now with that Jhin Leona early bot lane with Imagines on that Lucian, and that's going to be the second Herald going the way here of Imagine Wagons. They're going to look to get another push off. They've already taken down all the outer turrets here at sub 17 minutes, and so will be able to get quite a bit of damage, potentially getting themselves another inner if they just siege as 5. They've got the stronger team fight as well right now. If you are the side of Prismatic, you're not actually out of the game right now yet. You're down 6,000 gold, but it's only 17 minutes, and it's hard to count the team with a Nasus out at any point. The Nasus 243 stacks right now, 246 after that last minute he took. So not necessarily the most, the fastest skilling here, and he does get caught out, will get bursted down. He is so squishy right now. Looks like he's trying to build that Iceborne Gauntlet. No, I'm not sure what he's doing actually. Does have the Stinger, which suggests a Trinity Force, so potentially just building the the Glacial Shroud there early just to get a bit of defensive stats against Imagines, it looks like. Unfortunately not paying off for him right now, does get picked out, and that means this top lane could go down really quickly. They are going to drop Shelly. And they do get that inner turret. Now they're looking for Mickey Mouse. The Zenith Blade connects, but it's a 4v3. Command Shockwave coming in here. And now the Showstopper, once again, not quite able to find anybody. Granddaddy Jack somehow still alive in the back there. But they abandoned XX Wolf in the front, and XX Wolf gonna go down. It's a 1-for-1 right now. They're running away. Can they make it? The Wither being applied onto Spenlow, but with the Command Dissonance coming out, it's just buying them more and more time. Sorry, that was a 2-for-1 trade, not a 1-for-1, because Matsi just getting bursted down in the beginning of that fight. I didn't even see him go in. Looks like he landed a resonating strike and then just died, and that's going to give Imagines free time in this bot side. They got that top side inner turret through brute force. They might be able to finagle this bot side as well, just through the rotations, but there's no more minions. Mickey Mouse and Dark Prince running down to stop that for now, and still Imagine Wagons walking away with a win on that with the turret and 2. Now Imagine's hiding out in that bot side, that bush from the ocean map here, giving him a bit of vision, but the wards now coming down, and we see a lot of wards coming out from Prismatic. They don't want to give this one over at all. They're looking to try and make a comeback through this ocean drain. You do have to be careful though. They don't win a straight up fight, and Curtain Call being used to poke it out right now. The damage is spread out, so a bit weird. The Showstopper comes out again, not quite finding the back line here, and that's already 2 down. Just Storming and Mickey Mouse here, with Matsi soon to follow. He gets rooted up, but they've abandoned him for now. They focus on Dark Prince instead. They get Dark Prince, and Matsi able to flash out. Will be enough? No, it will not. His dash to a minion just bought him a bit of time as XX Wolf flashing in, and now they are hunting for Soul. Amusing, they do find him. The Zenith Blade from Spenlow. He gets the kill, and that's a clean ace for Imagine Wagons here. And things are looking dire right now for the side of Prismatic aiming. That dragon was a Hail Mary, but I'm not sure that was the right play to try the Hail Mary on. Especially if they're the ones starting up. They had all the vision. They knew they were getting collapsed on, and yet they still opted to do that one there. They're now going to be way in the red right now. Down more than 10,000, pardon me, at 20 minutes. It's just a question of how Imagines wants to close this one out. We questioned in the beginning, when they had their lead, can they close out as effectively as Prismatic did in game 1? And the answer is a resounding yes. Not only can they close it out, they are going to close it out even cleaner here. They're on track to actually try and end this one even faster than game 1 for now. So far, it seems like the Xayah picks have just not been working out for the teams. It was prioritized quite heavily by both teams. We did see the side of Prismatic try and get the Lovers bot lane, and we saw the side of Imagine Wagons pick it up to break it out. It didn't work for them, and now even though they got the Lovers bot lane, still not working out here for the side of Prismatic. And so Prismatic finding themselves here faced with the same question as Imagine Wagons. And that question is, what do you do here to fix for game 3? And Prismatic is hungry for their first win. Imagine Wagons got a bye in week 1, so they are already on the board in the standings. But Prismatic, despite being one of the teams which has been fighting so hard to try and get one, often going to the full 3 games, still not able to find their first win. What are they going to do? And we do see now Wild Gruche is missing the command shockwave, but it doesn't matter. There's the root coming from XX Wolf. They are going to keep chasing, putting the damage out. They'll have to back out. And bot lane, Imagine Wagons going 1v2 right now, and yet somehow he's the one winning out this trade here, taking So Amusing very low. The culling being used to clear out the previous wave and get the damage down, and that's going to stop the 2v1 for now and give, it looks like, Imagine's a free access onto the Baron, as they did force Matsi back to base as well with that command shockwave that whiffed. So if you're outside of Prismatic, you drafted an early jungler here, so they didn't make the same mistake as Imagine Wagons with a weak jungle and weak lanes. So the question is, where do they go from here? I think for one, they need to draft a team that's not all physical damage, because you can see how little damage they are actually doing to the side of Spenlow right now. Spenlow able to tank up a lot of damage when he initiates. So definitely draft something with a bit more a mixed damage source here, so that they don't just get hard countered by one stat. And the other issue was Matsi just couldn't find a gank in the early game, pardon me. All his lanes just struggling here to get themselves in a position for a good gank. So I think the strength of Prismatic to a certain extent has been coming a lot from their lanes, and I think get Just Storming a champion he can carry on. We've seen Just Storming carry when you give him something that can just dominate, and Nasus is not it. Nasus wants to scale into the late game, and last week too, Just Storming had a very erratic performance, going really good in some games and just absolutely throwing and inting in other games. And he's not inting here in game 2, but he's having a much similar situation where he just can't do anything. And I think Just Storming is one of the win conditions here for Prismatic, so give him something he can dominate on in the early game. And in the bot lane as well, I think the pick was fine. The issue came down to a lot of, they just messed up the early game with Dark Prince dying at level 1, and now the final push potentially coming out. We see Mickey Mouse getting shredded. Bot side, Matsi getting soloed by Imagine Wagons, and this is the beginning of the end here, because Baron is already taken. They can just look to push and end this. There's only Just Storming, So Amusing, and Dark Prince left alive, and they're all really squishy here. The Glacial Shroud for Just Storming was completed very much earlier, and we've seen how ineffective it is right now against the damage that can be forced out. They take the inhibitor in the mid lane. Looks like they're going to rotate to this bot side and brute force it as 5. But this is buying time for the side of Prismatic to come back into to respawn here. And that's the inhibitor turret going down. Engage from Granddaddy Jax here is going to get chunked out a little bit. Has to be careful he doesn't overchase. The Ignite is ticking down here. And Just Storming able to just bonk and pick up a kill there, because Granddaddy Jax over-chased a little bit. And everybody up from the side of Prismatic Gaming, they are looking for the engage, but Dark Prince was so low, he just instantly got popped here. Spenlow's Solar Flare coming out will delay the rest of the team, while beautiful command shockwave catches too, and they turn the fight. They've got an ace. That's a triple kill here for XX Hope, and Imagine Wagons looking to close this one out. The last game ended in 28 minutes. This one looks set to end before 26 even. The Nexus turrets are going down. The Baroned up minions are clearing things out. And the Nexus is now open, is now being hammered. Imagine's able to output that consistent DPS, outstripping XX Wolf here onto the Nexus. And that's going to be game 25.5 minutes here. Imagine Wagons firing back 28-6. Again, if you are the side of Prismatic, what are you going to do? Right? Like, I think the bot lane's fine. They were Lovers bot lane works out, but you need to not give that level 1 lead over to a Jhin Leona bot lane who can just run you over, take advantage of leads. Leona, one of the worst champions to have to play into when they are ahead. So I think maybe you ban out the Leona potentially. We'll have to see. And Wild Goose Chase going 6-0 and 15 on the Orianna. Struggled a little bit in lane, but came back massive. Those command shockwaves, yeah, he whiffed quite a few, but it doesn't even matter because you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And Wild Goose Chase was willing to take those shots, and it paid off in some of these team fights. X6 Wolf as well, 8-2 and 11, and Granddaddy Jax 7-2 and 9. Just really dominant across the board here for the side of Imagine Wagons. And Prismatic, I mean, they can probably afford to give some things up here. I don't think the Morgana is anywhere near as scary as the Leona here for Spenlow. So maybe trade that one up a little bit, mix that up, ban the Leona, leave the Morgana open. That is an option here for the side of Prismatic. So we'll have to see what they end up doing, but I definitely don't want to see just storming on another late game champion who can't do anything in the beginning. And with that, we do have ourselves a full best of 3. This is one of the things that I love to see the most. And we will be heading into an intermission break while we set up for the fateful game 3 here that will decide how the bottom of the standings are going to shape up.